Hey, I'm Craig. I talk to employers and employees about the workforce, the workplace, and the workflows. Do you know there's an incredible fracturing taking place between the number of people employed in the US and office spaces? Today, let's talk about the workplace. Well, let's talk about the workplace. There seems to be this disjointed data that's available to us right now. If you take a look at what was in the January unemployment reports that came out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you see that unemployment was at 3.4%. Now, this is at the lowest it's been in a 5-year time frame. But at the same time, you see people within the corporate real estate industry talking about these sky high vacancy rates. What exactly is going on with this disjointed element? Well, a lot of people are pointing to hybrid work and even the 4-day work week, people working part-time, quiet quitting, quiet firing. There's a lot of things going on, but I think there's something else taking place more than that. All right, so let's double click on this 4-day-a-week work week and see what that really means in terms of some corporate spaces. Now, prior to the pandemic, it was estimated that an average employee needed about 190 square feet per office space in order to occupy it. Now, post-pandemic, that number's been changing. You've seen things from experts now saying that number's taking it down by 10-15%. But even still in that model, that still has the corporate real estate on a per employee basis, somewhere between 140 and 170 square feet per individual. So it's true, you can look at hybrid work as contributing to lessening the demand for corporate real estate. But there's something else taking place within the real estate stock itself. Cushman & Wakefield right now is currently estimating that by the end of the decade, in 2030, there's going to be 1.1 billion square feet of unoccupied real estate in the United States. That averages to be about a 19% vacancy rate. Now, to put it in context, that is currently still the vacancy rate that we're having now in the US, but compare that to EMEA, which is at about 14%, and Asia Pacific, which is at about 7%. So something seems to be taking place within the United States. So those same experts at Cushman & Wakefield, they root the problem taking place prior to the 1990s here in the United States. See, at that point in time, there was a lot of tax incentives and a lot of programs to help promote the building of corporate real estate space. Actually to the point that it was beyond what actually the demand was. And this huge spike in supply came along. And there was a lot of subsidization, both in terms of taxes, in terms of building codes, and in terms of actually funding, that actually still supported this rise taking place. Now at this point in time, here we are 30, 40 years later, and Cushman & Wakefield says they can look at the real estate that's available in market, and they can segment it now into 3 distinct areas. There's one segment which occupies about 25% of the current stock that's coming up for renewal in the next 5 to 10 years. Looks a lot like this. Not pretty, right? This is the thing that's actually helping to bog down that 1.1 billion square feet of available real estate they're predicting to take place in 2030. In fact, if you were to cut off that 25%, that would remove about 330 million square feet of unoccupied real estate, which actually then takes that number in the US and brings it back in line with the rest of the world, around 12%. And on the other end of the spectrum is places like this. In the real estate terms, they consider this to be a grade A property. And not only is that driven by its location, but it's also driven by the quality of the amenities that are here to surround it. These grade A properties are finding demand in the market and are not suffering as bad as those lower tier properties that I showed you earlier. So let's bring this back to our discussion about hybrid work. How do grade A properties play into this whole spectrum? And that's the lesson to be learned. So what we're dealing with is this. Properties that are finding themselves that are not up to caliber are the ones that are suffering in terms of these high vacancy rates. Where in the days of just having pure location and square footage was of advantage, it no longer matters as much. These days, grade A properties, the ones that have the amenities, the ones that have the layouts, that have the comforts that actually draw employees in, are finding demand. And that is the key element when thinking about hybrid work and how to align to the properties. Look for properties or help develop your properties that have the amenities, that have the spice, that have the culture drivers that will help bring your people back into the office. So in other words, hybrid work makes it tough to bring people back in the office. That's true. Don't start with a grade C dog property and expect everyone to come pouring back in just because you say it's true. You need to take advantage of the property. You need to actually have the workplace meet the needs and accommodates the workforce. Thank you so much. Bye.